Gentleman yields back her time. Thank you very much. The distinguished gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the pandemic, there were countless cases of fraud and abuse, with GAO estimating over $500 billion taxpayer dollars lost. Countless bills have been filed, letters have been sent, and congressional committees have had many hearings to dissect what went wrong during COVID. We must ensure that this mismanagement of funds never happens again, and the work we have done points to many ways we can actively improve our improper payment and fraud protection programs. We must fill the gaps in these systems while providing transparency to the American people to prove we can be good stewards of their tax dollars. Focusing on fraud prevention, the 2015 GAO Fraud Risk Framework is a good place to start. Ms. Brown, 9 years since the framework was developed, could you give an update as to how much of it has been implemented across the 15 executive agencies? Further, could you speak to the relationship between GAO and individual agencies in implementing this framework across the board?
So GAO has done dozens of individual reviews of agencies' implementation of the framework, and we've seen some mixed results. We continue to beat the drum on this. I think we have positive relationships with OMB, for example, and we make ourselves available to agencies proactively if they want to work through how to go about implementing the framework if they have questions. One of the things that we did a couple of years ago, we provided a framework to help agencies address improper payments and emergency programs that really built on the 2015 framework.
Would you be able to give each agency a grade, C, D, F, A? I mean, if we asked you in writing, could you do that?
On the fraud framework, their implementation of the fraud framework?
Correct.
It would be difficult because there isn't a lot of information provided. The Payment Integrity Information Act repealed some of the reporting requirements that existed before that required agencies to provide information on that.
I may
So
follow
we
up
could.
with additional questions.
Yes.
Thank you. I would argue the largest blind spot in our effort to combat fraud during the Paycheck Protection Program, I mean, it was just extensive, and I feel like it could have been fairly easy to address some of the concerns. Mr. Horowitz, what additional identity verification tools could we have put in the statute to limit the amount of fraud?
Okay. I think, Congressman, you're exactly right. The Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, EIDL, both administered by SBA. Their goal at the outset was to get the money out, and they lowered the guardrails. Congress didn't put any guardrails in, arguably encouraged them to get the money out based on the language in the law. And so they sent it out based solely on self-certification. I say who I represent, I'm truly that person. And what we've learned is, not surprisingly, lots of people who were fraudsters were willing to fill out that form, swear to the truth of it, and take the money and run.
Would it have been difficult to use Treasury's certifications to achieve the same objective? If you can't pay your taxes, sorry. I mean, if you have the ability to pay your taxes, you have the ability to get relief?
So that's exactly right. So even what was available back in 2020, which was the Treasury's Do Not Pay system, which is a list essentially of bad actors, as you indicated, known bad actors, that was sitting there. SBA didn't check that in 2020. They sent the money out instead. 57,000 applicants got $3.6 billion who were already on that Do Not Pay list. So, and that, by the way, the Payment Integrity Information Act, it's part of that they should be checking Do Not Pay. But they could have done more with the data analytics, right? Again, we've identified individuals who were deceased, got paid, while that Death Master File Index is sitting at the Social Security Administration.
Hindsight's 2020, but we need to learn from this.
Could I jump in for 1 second on that, on the issue of SBA? So early in the pandemic, GAO pointed out some of those steps, preventative steps they could take. And when SBA implemented our recommendation, it resulted in over $4 billion prevented in potentially fraudulent payments. And then for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, we also recommended that if they do any same thing with that program, that they take some additional actions, and when they did, that prevented $6 billion of fraudulent funds going out the door. So it definitely pays off.
I yield the remainder of my time to my friend from Alabama, Congressman Palmer.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. Horowitz, you said Social Security charged PRAC for verification data. Can you provide an itemized list to the committee on how much Social Security Administration charged PRAC? Just to verify Social Security numbers and other data, that was all you were asking, wasn't it?
That's right. I can check that. I don't remember off the top of my head what the number was, but what I do recall from it was when we first got this agreement in place, when we went there with the 2.7 million numbers, they came back with a number that I thought was not reasonable. I told our folks to go back and ask them for an itemized list of why they were charging that much, and the price started dropping.
Well, I
So
think
it was
the
subject to
committee-
negotiation.
It would be good for the committee to get that list. And would you recommend that we consider legislation to require Social Security Administration to verify the data?
Absolutely.
And you'd be willing to help with that?
Absolutely. Be happy to work with you.
Thank the gentleman. I yield back.
And can I just add one thing in terms of where we're going? We've put out a couple of blueprint reports of lessons learned, and we're continuing to do that over the next 6 months because we want to put in one place all of the issues that GAO has identified. I should add the SBA IG also issued reports that were finally implemented that save taxpayers billions of dollars as well. Same with the labor IG. And we've collated those, brought them together in one document. We've put out 2 chapters so far, and we've got 3 more to go.
Well, you know I'm a nerd, so send them to my office. Thanks.
Absolutely.